Howdy, y'all. Caleb here. I decided to have a little fun today. I wanted to see what is the cheapest Seraphon Army I could build, the least expensive. So what I did is I charted every unit we have, how many points they are, and what they cost. I'm using American dollars here, so you'll have to convert it into whatever dollars you have. Obviously, this won't be applicable to places like Australia where the prices are outrageous. But I charted all these units here, and I'm going to see what their price per point is. Which one has the best price per point? And you can kind of see here the Bastildon. It's a one model. It's 220 points, and it costs $60. So that comes out to about 27 cents per point. And I charted them all to see which ones gave me the best point value per dollar. And then I'm going to build a list from those units that I can find so we can get the least expensive Seraphon Army possible. We're looking for 2,000 points, and we're going cheap. So I sorted by what are our cheapest price per point models here. And you can see this is kind of our top 10, top 15 or so that are the cheapest. And we see a lot of Saurus units on here. We have some of the Saurus Old Blood, the Saurus Ashworth Bear, some of these foot heroes that are Saurus units, and they're still fairly cheap. That Saurus Old Blood, to buy him, is only $15 on Games Workshop. And so he comes out to a very, very cheap 14 cents per point, which is pretty awesome for a little hero. And so I'm going to try to build this first list kind of from things I see on here, and we're gonna look at some of these units that are the best price. If you notice right here, good old Lord Croak, he does come in at a nice 17 cents per point. They're at $55 for 320 point model. Well worth his cost in points and dollars as well. So we're going to start with my first list. Of course, you all know my love for Stegadons. So they kind of squeak in here towards the top at number 13, 24 cents per point. I just like everything being labeled by price per point. It kind of turns my list building around. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab a couple cheap things and then add in the Stegadons. We've got a Saurus Old Blood. I'm getting a Saurus Ashworth Bear to go with Lord Croak because Lord Croak is just a great value there. And I'm going to take 4 units of Saurus Guard. Saurus Guard come in pretty cheap. In fact, they're our cheapest actual battle line per points and dollar value for our battle line. They do come in a box of 15, which is 3 units there of 5 Saurus Guard, and it's only $55. So it comes in at a pretty reasonable price for your battle line. And then I'm going to come down here a little bit further, and we're going to get a Stegadon Skink Chief and 3 Stegadons. Now, you can add this list into basically any sub-faction you want to. It would be pretty good in Thunder Lizards, but it could also go in something like Fangs. It makes everything faster. You get some summoning teleports. Kind of an all-around list. It comes in at $400. That is actually pretty reasonable. That's not a bad list here. We got 4 big monsters. We got the beat stick that's Croak with the Ashworth Bear. We've got 4 units of Saurus Guard. So that is 40 extra wounds that can be taken off Croak. I mean, Croak will not die in this list if we put it that way. So kind of let's see what our list kind of looks like here. I'm putting this one in Thunder Lizards just so we can have those Stegadons as battle line. We have Lord Croak with the heroes that we just talked about, making the Stegadon Chief our general, with the Saurus Old Blood in support of one of those blocks of guard. I'm going to split those out. You might split them out into 10 or 5 if you need to cover more more range on the board. You can split those guys out. But the Saurus Old Blood is actually pretty good against them because he will add a +1 to hit for all those Saurus Guards. So he makes it pretty good. They're already hitting on 3s and 3s, so they'll go down. If you put this list in Kotal's Claw, they could even get to 1s to hit, so you would negate any minuses, which would be pretty nice. I also left enough room for a Balewind Vortex, of course. If you don't have that, you can add some other endless spell or the command point. But that's how our list looks there. You've got that Croak Power Tower, which is awesome, as well as a huge group of Stegadons. Let's look at the table real quick. And quickly set this up. I was going to play against somebody here, against some Stormcast. But here's how I might load this up. We've got that center block here with Croak, and he's going to go up on the Balewind and power project all the way across the board with those mortals. I've got my Source Old Blood and some Source Guard over on this side. They can hold objectives, they can push forward, and they can do some damage. They have Ren, they have plenty of attacks, and the Source Old Blood can pump them up. He's not a bad foot hero. He's at a 3-up save. He'd be -1 because of lookout, -1 to hit because of Lookout Sir. So not bad. And then we've got our 4 big monsters. These guys are going to be my offensive unit. They're going to push forward, and I'm going to force the opponent to have to deal with these 4 giant monsters while Croak is bombing them with mortals. So I kind of like this list. I love Stegadons, but 400 points for this list. I think we can go cheaper with this list. So what I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at getting rid of the Stegadons, and let's look at some cheaper options here. So this one I would call my double casting list. We've got a couple of interesting picks here. For Sorth Astrolith Bear, I picked 2. And the reason I picked 2 is because I'm going to take Lord Croak and a Slann. A Slann is reasonably priced here. As far as our points, price per points, he's only 21 cents per point. And so we're going to go double casting. We're going hard on magic. They're going to buff each other. We're going to be spitting out spells like crazy. And this pairs well with these guard that we're taking. I've got 6 units of 5 guard. So that's, 2 boxes of guard that we've got. The Source Guard are probably our best looking battle line. They're the ones that still look pretty good. Source Warriors are kind of getting dated. Source Knights no, they're not good. Skinks, they're okay. Source Guard actually look pretty cool. I like them. I'm also taking a Source Scarvet on Cold One, the mounted Source Scarvet. And he's going with 3 units of 5 Knights. So I'm adding in some beef into this list, but it's also a good value. And this list comes in at $347. We're getting cheaper. I like the sound of this list now. This is a pretty reasonable price list. Let's kind of look at how it lines up on an actual list building. So we've got Croak and our Slann and our 2 Astrolith Bears, which is pretty crazy. I don't know that I've ever fielded 2 of those guys before. They're going to be casting. They're going to be dominating that magic phase. We've got our general. I'm going to put this list in Kotal's Claw so that I can get some buffs for those knights and the guard as well. He's going to be running along with my knights that I've got here, and then I've got 2 units of guard to support my 2 Slanns, the Croak and Slann. So that's an extra 30 wounds to have to try to get through Croak and Slann. So that's 2 big power groups that aren't going to be shifted very easy. And then I've got 15 knights that I'm going to be throwing up the table at you. And we have about 100 points left over that we can add our endless spells if you've got them. If you don't, you can always add a few more bodies if you need to. But the endless spells are worthwhile taking there. Command points are good, or throw in a battalion if you need it. You can always drop 1 unit of knights and upgrade this guy to a Scarvet on Carnosaur, which would be pretty cool to add into this, but that actually pumps up our cost a little bit. Let's look at what that looks like on the board. That is 123 wounds, and in Coalesce, that's pretty cool. So here we go. We got it laid out here on the board. We've got Croak and an Astrolith Bear here in the middle. He'll be popping that Balewind Vortex, kind of doing the same thing as before, getting that mortals going across the board. I'd probably field it in a unit of 10 knights to push up with support of the Scarvet. He'll let them explode their 6s to hit into another hit, which is nice. I'd probably split off 1 unit of 5 knights just to deploy them and support wherever I need to. If I need them to go somewhere else or hold an objective back here, I would do that. We've got Croak here in the middle, and he's going to be casting Balewind Vortex, might cast Purple Sun, might cast some other endless spells. Whatever you can fit in the list would be a good option for this list, because you're going to have a lot of casts here, and you're going to have a ton of command points too. So make sure in Kotal's Claw, it's good to put that command trait on the Scarvet, because he's going to be spending command points a lot, and then he'll be recycling those back to you. I've got my Slann and another Astrolith Bear over here. he's going to be doing the same thing. He's probably going to camp an objective and be spitting out some spells towards the enemy, throwing Purple Sun up the board or something that has a little bit longer range. And then you can push up with Croak if you need to get him in range for all his mortals. So quite a few bodies, a lot of wounds, and some pretty good output from all the spells. Nobody's going to be able to get their spells off against you in this army, and that'll be pretty nice. And you've also got some beef in the knights that you can push forward and do some damage. So not too bad. That list was $347, but you know what? We can do better. So while I was doing this, I had to think, what is in all of Sigmar? I wonder what the best point per price per point value is. And I think it clicked. I don't know for sure that this is the best one, but it could be. And we can bring it in a Seraphon list. And that is Gotrek himself. So this little guy is amazing. I love him. I like him in a Seraphon list. I took him to a couple tournaments back in 2019, back when we had tournaments. Started 2020, and a lot of fun. The guy is a beast. And look at that price per point. Only comes in at 7 cents per point. And that is amazing. He's only $35, and he's 510 points. And that just blows away everything else on my chart. He is priced well below everything else. In fact, he's half the cost of our cheapest unit. And so I'm going to put him in a list, I think, for our cheapest Seraphon unit, or Seraphon list. We can ally in Gotrek since we are Order. And so we're going to add Gotrek to a list with some of these other cheap options and see what we can do. And here it is. We've got Gotrek as our ally. We've got a Saurus Old Blood. And we've got our Saurus Ashvalith Bearer, Lord Croak, and then 9 units of Saurus Guard. This is going to be a tough list to shift, and it comes in at under $300. We're talking $292 for an entire 2,000-point list in Age of Sigmar. So what does the list look like? We've got Lord Croak with Stellar Tempest, so he'll be able to deal with hordes, and Ashvalith Bearer to give him pluses to his hit, plus a Feel No Pain for everybody within a certain range of him. We've got our Saurus Old Blood as our general, so he can help us recycle those command points that we're going to be spending like crazy. And then we've got Gotrek as our ally. He will defeat just about anything unless he's getting shot by, 1,000 one-wound damage shots. That's about the only thing that will take him down. So he can outlast just about anything. He'll take any hero in the game and laugh. So we've also got 3 units of 15 Saurus Guard. They're our best price per point. So you're talking just 3 boxes of guard here, and you're coming in at 1990, almost 2,000 points exactly. And we have 118 wounds. I like that wound count, especially when you're including Gotrek. This is going to be a pretty scary list. So here's how we go on the table. It doesn't look that intimidating, but these guys have 2 wounds each. These are warriors right here. I don't have this many guard. But I'm going to put some guard with Gotrek here just to screen him in case he does get, alpha charged by something. I don't know who would be crazy enough to alpha charge Gotrek, but they'd have to be able to do some output if they did that. That'll just give him a little bit of a screen. I would probably end up splitting this unit up into units of 5 just to help me on board control, and put 1 unit of 5 on Gotrek to help keep some nasty things off him until he could countercharge. But that's what that would look like. I'd probably end up splitting them off. And then we got that same unit of 15 with Croak and Ashvalith Bearer, and a unit of 15 over here with our Old Blood. And when they have those right buffs, they can put out some damage. As they have in Coalesce, they would have 4 attacks each, which is pretty nice. In Kotal's Claw, you can get an extra +1 if they charge to hit. And then Old Blood can give them another +1 to their hit. So these guys can put out some damage. They do have rend on their attacks, so that is nice. They're comparable to Warriors. Not our best unit, but price per point, absolutely. So a pretty fun list here. You can put this thing together pretty quick, and it's not bad. This isn't top tier, obviously. This isn't probably anywhere close to top tier, but if you're just looking for a fun list for a cheap cost to get started, this right here could be a lot of fun. And it's what I think is probably one of our most inexpensive lists for Seraphon that I could come up with our chart. So there was our least expensive list for Seraphon. Tomorrow, I'm going to use the same chart, and we're going to be looking at the most expensive list you can build for Seraphon. So that one should be interesting. Come back and check that out if you want to have some laughs on what is the most expensive Seraphon list you can build. All right, see you guys later.